Hello, welcome back to another episode of John the PM, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. What I'm going to talk about in this episode is our PMP Prep class, sometimes known as the advanced course on those areas. Now, this is an advanced course. I'm not going to say it's not. Sometimes in the marketplace they say it's a boot camp, in those areas, 35 hours, and then you can take the PMP exam and pass, in those areas. It's really been kind of my experience that it takes probably about 140 hours. If you're in my traditional classes, I will take up about 70, and then the other 70 is offset by your education, your experience, and your environment. So if you are in a product development area or in your construction software development, in other words, they should be using these processes. At that point in time, it becomes, yeah, we do this. I just didn't either realize it or we call it something else. It's fairly straightforward for those individuals. When I say experience, if you've been doing the practices correctly, then obviously it's just a little bit easier for you. Education, that's a little bit of a tricky one. When I say education, I honestly do not mean how many degrees you have. I really don't mean that. What I really mean is how close are you to your academic efforts on that. The closer you are to it, the easier it is for you. So what this kind of sort of means, and for some folks, is that if you earned your 4-year college degree, late in life, 30s, whatever, it actually is a little bit easier because you just finished with school and you're still in the school mode, and it just cycles through, on those pieces. So it is fairly intense, in that regards. It is a lot of material. I'm not going to say it's not. However, we're going to cover it in a fairly systematic way. There is a case study that is available for you. I do invite you to go ahead and preview it before class, whether you understand it or don't understand it. That's perfectly fine. It involves the building of a life center construction type project, but it also involves bringing in customers and things of that nature. On a personal basis, I really enjoyed it, mainly because it kind of emulated a real world issue that I am currently undergoing at this point in time. So it really resonates with me. But, again, I do invite you to read through it because it helps you to reinforce the material, in that regards. So relative to class, we'll start off with a pre-test. We'll have a test every day, just as a matter of fact, or some cycle, thereof. It is a little bit harder than normal. Why? Because it's all scenario. Some people call it situational based. And traditionally on the exam, your scenario questions are usually a little bit harder. So relative to the exam, you have two different types of questions. You have a technical questions and you have scenario. The technical ones, those are just earned value network diagram. In other words, they're fairly straightforward on those pieces. There's not a lot of room, for negotiations on those pieces. On your scenario, these are meant to emulate real world scenarios that you can occur and how you would approach it as a professional, as a PMP, in that regards. So sometimes that becomes a little bit troubling. My one thought, my food for advice here is when you're looking at those questions, in fact, when you're looking at the material, do not say what I would do. Rather think of what would the masses do? What would PMI do? What would a conglomerate of professional project managers, what would they do? In other words, they're not all from one single industry or from one single area, but rather across the globe and across multiple industries. So, there would be plenty of, there would be, quizzes and things like that throughout the day. So you kind of see how the questions could be framed, but they also cause you to think. And that can be also that's a pretty good exercise as well. You have a post test, and of course we'll go through the questions and answers, at some pace, on those areas. Each day we'll go through the courseware. It is a lot of PowerPoints on those pieces. Get that as a frequency. It is because it's a lot of material that's involved. There's a lot of writings, pieces like that. Again, I say that not to say that to be to be overly concerned about it, but just realize that I do need your full attention, as we're going through it on that side. What I ask you as we're going through is to kind of think of a time when you've actually done it. After a couple of days, you'll actually realize that there is not a single topic, literally, there is not a single topic that is that challenging on those areas. It's not really the individual topics that are hard. Taken separately, they're fairly straightforward. It's the accumulation of it. But if you actually try to live it as opposed to memorizing it, it makes it a lot easier on that side. The other piece that you do need to know is that the class will end, and when the class ends, it just ends. Okay, it just ends. However, the relationship is expected to continue. So the closer that you get to your exam, or if you have a question about a project, just give us a call, and we'll answer it to the extent that we can. If we can, I know plenty of people that could probably answer your question, on those pieces, and I do that, fairly regularly. So bottom line is we are here for you throughout your career, on those pieces. We're just good. We're just happy to be a part of your journey. We are not successful unless you're successful. And I've had a lot of great stories. I've had individuals who become chief of staffs at major organizations. I've had people to become PM of the year within their large construction projects. I've had people to become chief transformational officer for entities. I've had people become senior vice president for large organizations that were running massive projects. But you know what? I've also had people to start incredibly small business, down, good salt of the earth folks, within their communities, and they're doing extremely well. I've had individuals to use these tools and techniques in their nonprofits and do extremely great work for their communities. So whether it's as high as you want to go or as broad as you want to go, these skill sets that we're going to be talking about, they are phenomenal. And they are some of the best tools that actually help you in order to further whatever your goals are. Again, we are not successful unless you are. And that's really our goal, is to make you successful or to help you to be successful. About the only thing that we cannot provide is motivation. Otherwise, if you ask us for quizzes, we're going to say, hey, here's some quizzes. If you ask us for Quizlets, we got Quizlets. If you ask us for PM games, we have PM games, on those areas. So we pretty much have all those resources. I've been doing this for 10 plus years now and have just an incredible amount of data or access to it, in order to help individuals at a very granular level, to be successful in their world. Again, welcome to the PMP Prep class. Super excited and look forward to meeting each and every one of you. Thank you and have an awesome day.